Hello and welcome to part one of a video series of installing HyperLedger Fabric. What I have here, I'm assuming we can already be at this stage, hopefully. This is a Lubuntu, which is the lightweight version of Ubuntu. So installing HyperLedger on any Ubuntu should be pretty straightforward. This video is mainly just going to cover getting the prerequisites installed, which is kind of the hardest part. Once you have the prerequisites, then we'll move on to other parts of HyperLedger and its functionality. But for right now, I just wanted to kind of walk through the installation of the prerequisites and kind of just talk about the environment. So what I have here is I have just a fresh install of Lubuntu on an old laptop of mine. Now, I will note that I attempted to do this on a virtual box or a virtual machine Linux install, and I was unable to get past some of the errors that I was getting. So, just as a caveat, this is not a virtual machine. I am unsure of whether getting some of these things to run in a virtual machine would be possible. I'm sure with enough effort it would be. I ran into my issues mainly with Docker and getting Docker configured, which on here can also be kind of a pain. But let's just go ahead and start up. First thing you're going to want to do, if you're in your Lubuntu, you're going to want to just go to the HyperLedger prerequisites page. You can get there by typing in this HyperLedger prerequisites, and I think it's this one, which is just the first one. And this is the main. HyperLedger has a lot of good documentation, but this is what you're going to want to use pretty much to get started. Install curl, which we can do a lot of this from the terminal with apt-get. We're not going to have to. So for instance, here, if you do follow this link, it's just going to take you to the curl downloads, and you can get this and you can untar it and everything. I personally just prefer to use the terminal to get all of my stuff. This should work. And should have curl. Yeah. Now you could go here to the binary and download it and unpack it, but I like to make things as simple as possible. And to me, sudo apt-get makes things a little simpler and easier. And when you're looking for issues or solutions, a lot of people you're just going to copy and paste those commands in. And now we are going to have to get Docker. For Docker, I don't think you can sudo it, but let's just go here. We'll follow the link to Docker. It's kind of a pain to figure out what to click on here. So we just need plain old Docker, and they have kind of a very crazy website. I think Docker Hub. It's very confusing. Let's see. Back to here. Docker version 17 is required, and then oh no, this is not it. Sorry, Docker Hub. It's not what we want. I guess Docker Enterprise. Yeah, like I said, getting Docker is probably the most difficult aspect of it. Let's just do this. Okay. So we're going to want the community edition probably. As you can see, the documentation for Docker also is quite extensive. I'm assuming we don't, oops, have Docker on here. Oh, so we can sudo it. Sudo snap. Let's do the snap. Very nice. Wasn't aware of that. That's good. We'll get that. And then we also got to get Docker Compose, which is another thing with Docker where it allows you to do some required functionalities for HyperLedger to work properly. So that might take a while there. So we got to wait on that. But now we can kind of go ahead. We're going to need to get Go. Setting the Go path is another thing that you need to be aware of, but we'll go through that. And then you're going to have to get Node.js runtime and NPM. And I do want to make and you have to get Python. These are all pretty easy ones. For Node.js runtime and NPM, I will speak briefly about. It's as you can see here on this note, it says versions other than 8.x are not supported. So Node.js, I think, is on like 12.04 as of this video or as of today's date. So what you need to do is install NVM, Node Version Manager, and that's basically, you're basically going to have to install NVM to downgrade to this version in order for HyperLedger to run. Otherwise, you're going to run into a bunch of issues when you're doing your Node stuff. Still going here. All right, well, there it is. Let's see, Docker version 1806. Let's see what they said about that. Okay, we're good. Let's see if we have Docker Compose. Docker Compose 1 build unknown. That's fine. Docker Compose version 114. Okay, so we're good. 122. Now let's go back to the Docker documentation and make sure that this works. Docker info. Ooh, permission denied. Okay, sudo docker info. There we go. Nice. So that worked. Now we're just gonna run the hello world. Hopefully, oh, gotta sudo it. Docker run hello world. Okay, so it couldn't find it locally. It's going to download it and run it. Hello from Docker. Your installation appears to be working correctly. Perfect. That's what we wanted to see. So, and that is what I couldn't get to work on the virtual machine. So we're already way ahead of where we were when I was trying to do that. All right. So you can continue. I would highly recommend that you continue with this. Docker image ls. God dang. I should just log into root. I'm not going to go too deep into Docker as that's not the purpose of the video, but I would, again, highly recommend that you kind of dive into Docker pretty significantly, because this is just the first set. But when I was doing my project with HyperLedger, I went through all of this and really played with Docker for many hours and learned a lot about it. It's very interesting. It's complex and confusing, but at the same, it's cool. It's a lot. You learn a lot about it. But I'm not going to do that in this video, so we're going to go back. Docker's done. So we just got to get Go. I think we can get it. Let's see, Go version. Yeah, so we can just sudo snap it, install. Oh, yeah, we'll just snap. That's fine. Oh. Sudo. Okay, well, we'll do this then. Nope. Oops. Typo. There we go. That should get us Go. And then we do need to make sure the Go path works. Might run into an issue with that. I might come back to that in a later video, though. I don't want this to go too long. So the Go path, though, you have to make sure it's pointing to a certain location. That's where you're going to run your HyperLedger stuff from. And you're going to have to, because HyperLedger uses Go significantly in its implementation. So we do have Go. Works good. I'm not going to. I'm actually not going to set up the path because maybe I can do that when I'm running HyperLedger. We'll see the error and then we can go back and do it. Yeah, you must set the go path. So you'd have to just go into your bash script file and put that in there. Let's do Node.js and Node runtime. Or Node.js and npm, sorry. Node package manager is what that is. And then Python. Let's see, node version. This is going to be 12 something. Okay, we got 10.15 on here. Let's do NVM version. Okay, see if we can get that. Sudo apt-get install NVM. Yeah. Oh. Okay. How do we get that? We have to have that. NVM sudo apt-get. Let's go with the first run here. Okay, we can curl it. Cool. Let's go to GitHub and do it from here. So we could just do the source code. Version 3.4. Can't go back. Just gonna do it this way, the old school way. Okay. This might be a little bit, let's do it this way. We'll just curl it. Excellent. Oh, we still don't have it yet. What else we gotta do? So I think we need to be in here. No. Here? Clones it to NVM, adds the source onto your profile. You might want to add the source from yourself. Let's do this right here. There it is. So we just had to source that, the bash script. Now what you can do is use, the NVM lets us downgrade our node. So let's say we're at node 10.15. What you're gonna wanna do is, and this will be probably in a future video as well, but you're gonna do NVM use like 8.0. I don't have it, so NVM install 8.0, but I'll get into that in a subsequent video. When we encounter that error, we'll come back to that. So we have NVM. Python, and then that should be it for Linux. There we go. Okay, that's weird. we go. And once this is on, that'll actually conclude the prerequisites video from part 1 here. I am going to do, the next video will probably be just the next step here. So these prerequisites, once they're all done, you just come down and click next here, and we'll be going on to installing the binaries and the HyperLedger and all the Docker images and stuff. So stay tuned for that. But that is it. That we are actually, right now, this system is set up and ready to start using HyperLedger, hopefully. So stay tuned for next video.